Hi, this is Fred Guttenberg. Always honored to follow my friend Kristen's song. Um, One of the too many Americans who, across this country, I've gotten to know and love, but who I wish I didn't know. Um, Unfortunately, my daughter Jamie was another victim of gun violence. My daughter Jamie was murdered in the Parkland school shooting. I want to tell you a little bit about my story um, and why we need to be better at this and doing more about the reality of gun violence. In October of 2017, my younger brother Michael died of cancer related to his service in 9/11. I'm one of five kids. My parents are still alive. It was our first time as a family ever going through grief. And grief related to the fact that my family was a part of an American tragedy, the foreign terrorism. And the thing about 9/11 is we saw how this country responded to this foreign terrorism to do something to be better. 4 months later, on February 14th, 2018, my family again became part of another American tragedy, this time what I would call domestic terrorism, the reality of gun violence. It was Valentine's Day. It was a day of love. I was sending my kids to school that morning, like any other morning, sending my children to school, the place to learn safely in an environment that they should feel comfortable going to. This is now a reality for schools across the country. But for my kids, unfortunately, that day turned deadly. My son and daughter were running late that morning. I remember it like it was yesterday. And I was rushing them out the door. You got to go. You got to go. You're going to be late. You got to go. You got to go. You're going to be late is what I said to them as I rushed them out the door that morning. Because, in fact, they were running late. I never said to my kids that day when I rushed them out the door, I love you, as the very last thing. Because it wasn't supposed to be the last time. Just after 2 p.m. that day, my son Jesse called me. And he's a bit of a jokester. And so I didn't take him seriously in the first few seconds when he said, Dad, there's a shooting at my school. My first question was, what are you talking about? But then he said, and I can't find Jamie. And Jesse watched after his sister like a hawk. He didn't play games with her safety. He wouldn't say things if it wasn't true. And when he said that, I knew it was real. And I said, well, where are you? And Jesse said to me, well, they want us to run, but I can't find Jamie. I need to find Jamie. You have to run. You have to go. I'll worry about your sister. And as I'm on the phone with my son, begging him to run, he tells me he's hearing more bullets. And those are the ones on the third floor that were killing his sister. Here's the thing about gun violence. It isn't only about those we bury. It's about all the collateral damage that happens around it, to families, to those who saw it, to those who heard it, to communities. For example, with the Parkland shooting, my son will forever live with that tragedy as a defining fact of his life, and dealing with the reality that it is a defining fact of his life and that he is now an only child because of that shooting, and he heard it. He heard the shooting and the bullets that killed his sister. My wife and I have to deal with the reality that we now have a child who's an only son, not our family of four that was always supposed to be. Jamie was an amazing, amazing daughter. She lived life to its fullest. I've often said she was the energy in every room that she ever stepped into. She made you laugh. Sometimes she made you yell, but she always made you react. And it wasn't just in our home. It was also true in school, in her dance school, because my daughter was a competitive dancer, but she was a fighter. She was tough as nails. She always fought for what was good and what was right. My daughter fought for justice. She always stood up for the kids who maybe were less capable of standing up for themselves. She volunteered her time for kids with different abilities. And the thing I'm most proud of is her standing up to bullies. My daughter disliked bullies to the fullest. And even though she was a petite little thing, she would always put herself in the middle of a bully and the person being bullied and make it stop. Um, I'll never forget when she was in sixth grade and she came home and she told us a story about somebody being bullied and how she made it stop. And she described the bully as being this much bigger person. And I went into dad mode and I said, Jamie, you can't do that anymore. And my tough as nails little daughter just said to me, you know, Dad, you underestimate me because of my size. And she meant it. So to prove a point, I pushed her. I said, you think you're tough? And she pushed me back. I said, oh. So I pushed her again. I said, you're not that tough, joking with her. And she pushed me back. The third time that I pushed her, I got what became known as the kangaroo kick in my house because my daughter had these fast, fierce dancer's legs. I will tell you, I was stunned, but my tough as nails little daughter was going to end it there. And when I collected myself, I put my hand on her shoulder and I said, if anybody ever pushes you around again, you do that again. I am so proud of who Jamie was in just 14 years. And I'm devastated by the fact that I won't get to see her grow beyond 14, that she is forever 14. I'm devastated by the reality that I don't have new memories. I said to my wife last week, it hit me just last week, that we just don't have new photos to go through anymore, more new videos to go through anymore. We've gone through them all. We've shared them all. And that is a reality for far too many families across America because of this predictable and preventable gun violence that we face in America. I will tell you, I'm proud to have been a part of the work that has gone into getting legislation that will pass the Senate today or tomorrow and the House shortly after that, and that will be signed by President Biden. But it's not enough. It's not enough. There's so much more we need to do. We have over 400 million weapons in America today. And if you're a prohibited purchaser of a firearm, meaning you have to steal it or get it from some other way, you are also by law prohibited from buying bullets, but you can walk into the store anytime, any place and buy the ammunition because there's no requirement for a background check to make you stop. And so I will continue fighting for that. And in fact, there is legislation in the House and in the Senate right now to do that called Jamie's Law. I will continue working on that. But I want to focus this week on the positive because the legislation that is going to pass, it isn't close to everything we would want, but it is necessary. And it will save lives. It will reduce the gun violence death rate. It will reduce the instances of gun violence. And it is only possible because Americans in 2018 voted and flipped the House of Representatives. And we have a House of Representatives that will pass life-saving gun safety legislation. And in 2020 voted and pushed the Senate to 50-50 with Democrats in control. That allowed Senator Chris Murphy to be able to spend the time that he did to negotiate this deal. But the other thing America did is they voted for President Joe Biden. And because we have President Joe Biden, this legislation will pass and will be signed by him. This would not have been possible without Americans voting. And so here is where I'm going to end this right now. We have another vote coming up in less than 6 months. This midterm election is the most important election of our lifetime. More important than the last one. We only had to get rid of one guy in the last election. This one, we have to get rid of the legacy that he left us with. I am going to beg anyone who's listening to me right now to vote for gun safety candidates. Gun safety candidates are going to be the same ones who want to also protect a woman's right to choose, who also want to protect our rights to vote, who want to protect democracy. And yes, they are most likely to be Democrats. But vote for gun safety candidates, because in doing so, you will guarantee that we can put the lives of those you love first. Let's defend our rights to live freely in a society where we don't have to worry about being impacted by gun violence. Thank you all for listening to me. I love you all. I wish you well. And I hope you have a great day. Thank you.